Coming to you from an undisclosed location, somewhere deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains, I am your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. Welcome to a special report. We're going to talk about the drug trade, something which I usually don't talk about, but I think it's really important that we look at this and understand what we're dealing with. So we'll get into that, but first, a word from our very trusted sponsor. Folks, a meta-analysis of 23 controlled trials show that people taking collagen supplements saw real improvements in skin hydration, elasticity, and reductions in wrinkle depth. That means collagen isn't just a beauty fad. It's one of the most studied supplements proven to actually change how your skin looks and feels. This is why I use it every single day, Ageless Multi-Collagen. Folks, I love the way it makes my skin look. It supercharges my skin with 5 types of premium collagen needed to help reduce wrinkles. Since I started drinking collagen daily, I've noticed smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer lines, and a youthful glow. And at 75 years old, I definitely need it. Plus, it also helps improve my joint health, bone strength, and connective tissues. Grab a bag of Ageless Multi-Collagen, 51% off at healthwithla.com. That's www.healthwithla.com, and start experiencing real results. Plus, they have a promotion right now that includes free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin. A 60-day, think about this, folks, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee and free shipping with every order. Once again, folks, healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com. So here's the headline: Trump versus the nation of Colombia. The world's largest cocaine exporter hates him. And we're going to get into this. I think you'll find this really interesting. So here the picture, you can see that U.S. Coast Guard. This is a drug smuggler, narco sub, as it were, where they stuffed the submarine with cocaine worth millions and millions of dollars and then land it in the United States and in the middle of nowhere. There was actually one on the Malibu Beach here a while back. I mean, so they do this all the time. So before I even start talking about this whole subject, let me just say this, that there's been no president, just say now, right? That whole deal. Okay, fine. But no one did anything, did they? So the drugs in the 90s, in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 60s, and working backwards, came through the porous southern border, which is why Trump wants to close the southern border. Of course, if you say that, you get all sorts of crazy pushback. Let me ask you this, a rhetorical question, because I know you can't answer it. But those of you who are watching, and just think about this, how many of you have not had anyone go through rehab in your family? How many of you watching this, and by the way, thanks for watching, really appreciate it. But how many of you have not had anyone in your family go through drug rehab? I've done this at conferences, and out of, let's say, 1,000 people, I may get 10 or 15 hands go up. Essentially, every family in America, for the most part, has been impacted by the drug trade. Let that sink in. Every single family in the United States of America has had a family member that has been impacted by the drug trade. In our family, we've had it. I'm not going to mention any names, but it's there. I was impacted by the whole drug thing. I was a hippie. I took LSD. I've talked about this numerous times. Yeah, before I was saved. I did cocaine, I did marijuana, I did LSD. I'm not saying you have to boast, but it was readily available. And I'll tell you one thing. People go, oh, well, marijuana is just a recreational drug and it's all good and it's all okay. Is it really? It is a stepping stone to other things, because that's how I started. You start off at a party and somebody gives you a joint and you inhale and you feel kind of giddy and stupid, which is why I call it the stupid drug. Next thing you know, you're doing psilocybin or mushrooms and ayahuasca and everything else. Stay clear of it all. Stay clear of it. Run to the nearest exit. When I became a Christian, I was basically free from drugs. I was 28 years old. From 28 to 30, it's pretty much drug-free because I just realized this is going nowhere. At 30, I gave my life to the Lord. You couldn't, if you put $1 million on this desk and say, LA, take a toke of marijuana, I laugh at you. Go, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to do that? Go away. Get behind me. That's what I would say. Get behind me. So the drug trade is real. Now, here's the kicker. Okay? Here's the thing about this. Nixon, what did Nixon do? Right? What did JFK do? Nothing. What did Nixon do? Nothing. LBJ, nothing. What did Bill Clinton do? Nothing. What did Bush do? Nothing. What did George W. do? Nothing. What did Obama do? Nothing. Trump is the only president that I'm aware of. It's not just lip service. He's going for the head of a snake. And that's what needs to be done. That's what needs to be done. Crush it. Crush it, baby. Crush it. The drug lords are profiting. You're making millions of dollars by poisoning your children and your grandchildren. And it's available everywhere in this country. Let's continue. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered the deployment of the aircraft carrier U.S. Gerald R. Ford. There's another president who did nothing. I forgot him. The Navy's most modern and technologically advanced carrier, along with its accompanying warships and attack planes to waters off Latin America, marking a dramatic escalation of U.S. military might in the region. By adding the USS Gerald R. Ford to the existing U.S. forces, the Naval Strike Group in the Caribbean becomes an exceptionally powerful force. The Ford carries about 5,000 sailors and more than 75 attack surveillance and support aircraft, joining roughly 10,000 American troops already deployed to the region since late August. Watch, just keep an eye on that. President Trump's hardline stance and the deployment of U.S. military assets to curb narco trafficking have ruffled feathers across Central and South America. You know, I know a lot of you out there can't stand Donald Trump. You hate him, right? Just think of what he's doing. He's the only president in our lifetime who's actually going against trying to cut off the heads of the stinking snake. There you go. It's right there, folks. Bully for the Donald. Bully for him. How can you stand up against that and say, which the naysayers, of course, will do? Vile people who deal in this kind of poison. They are vile human beings. They are dealing in drugs and narcotics, which your kids and your grandkids become addicted to the point where some people die. They overdose. I'm not making this stuff up. Let's continue. President Trump's hardline stance on the deployment of U.S. military assets to curb narco trafficking have ruffled feathers across Central and South America. Trump and Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro are already locked in a war of wars, with Maduro mobilizing millions of civilians into the Bolivian militia to prepare for what he claims is a potential U.S. invasion. So Maduro is a dictator, and he's basically a communist and on some level, and there you go. Meanwhile, Colombia, the world's largest cocaine exporter, has also voiced outrage, though its response so far has been verbal rather than military. So why did they voice outrage? Because you're going to lose millions of dollars. Because they don't care about your kids or your grandkids. Or if you're watching this and you're an addict right now and you're strung out, I'm going to pray for you, because that's what we need to do. Father, in Jesus' name, those who are watching, who are addicted to substances, Lord, whatever that substance is, I pray that you'd break that hold over them in Jesus' name. I pray, Father, that you would touch them, that you would set them on a course, a new course, that you would just completely remove it from them. In Jesus' name, we pray. I'll tell you a story. There's a friend of mine, his name is Richard, and Richard was a meth addict. I mean, heavy stuff. And he was in prison. He was in jail. And he was about to be sentenced. So he's in jail. And obviously he's withdrawing from the meth because he's in jail. He can't get it. And he's not in a good place. He falls to his knees and he begs, if there's a God, if Jesus is real, to come in and change his life. Well, the Holy Spirit came in, Jesus came in, and just like that, broke the addiction. That's happened in my life, not with addiction, but with other things. When he shows up, everything changes. When the Lord shows up, the atmosphere changes. All 37 miracles of Jesus. He changes the water to wine. He's not sweating it. He heals the lepers. He doesn't even touch them. Be healed. Only one leper comes back out of the 10. Just like that. Because he has power over everything. He says to the storm, be still. And instantly, it's not this slow dissipation. Instantly. Because when he shows up, all things were created by him and for him. He's before all things. And he holds all things together. That's it. Either believe that or the nonsense of Darwinism. I am a frank supernaturalist. The 37 miracles recorded in the biblical prophetic narrative are real. And he's not sweating it. So when he shows up in Richard's life, guess what? Richard's life changes like that. He can show up in your life. And guess what? Your life will change just like that. So Richard, the next morning, is standing before the judge. He's looking at 5 to 10 years in the slammer. No doubt about it. And the judge says something. Richard, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm just going to put you on probation. And Richard just broke down and cried right there. That's our God, giving second, third, fourth, fifth, 25th chances. He loves you. He loves you. He has a plan for your life. He has a plan for my life. I was a Christian. I'm going down a rabbit trail, but I need to. I was a Christian. I was a musician. I was on the rock and roll trail. We had managers. We were in top-notch studios. We were recording with producers and the whole deal in West LA, one of those studios in West LA, the Fleetwood Mac Room. I'm boasting, but that's where we were. We were good. Bob, Norman, and me, we were good. We had a great sound. We played a troubadour, standing room only, standing ovation at the end. And then the Lord saved me, and this is a confession for those of you who are watching it, but we played at the church, and immediately they called to account that these other 2 band members weren't Christians and I should step down from that. So I listened to that. That was a huge mistake. That never should have happened. What they should have done is embrace these guys. They didn't do that. Rest is history. I became a worship leader. I became a worship leader for 25 years. But and it was a grooming time where the Lord was changing my life. I was married. I got married. Peg and I had 2 children, Corey and Sarah, and, working through all this stuff. And I was a worship leader, music director, the whole deal. And about 30 years ago, he became a change in ministry. Here we are doing what we do in the studio 7 days a week, 33 films, 15 books later. I had no idea. And I say that not to boast. I say that God has a plan for your life. And the more we follow Jesus, the more we yield to him, he knows who we are. We don't even know who we are. I never wanted to speak publicly. I never wanted to be sitting in front of a camera like this. I had no idea. Here I am every day. And some of you go, I wish you'd go away, LA. That's okay. Not going away. The Lord's called us to this. And I am a watchman. I am a sinner saved by grace, but I am a watchman. So let's continue. Tensions between President Trump and Colombian President Gustavo Petro have intensified not only over U.S. counter-narcotics operations, but also Washington's decision to cut aid and to oppose sanctions, bully for the Donald. On October 24th, 2025, the U.S. Treasury Department officer of Foreign Assets Control sanctioned Petro, his wife, one of his sons, and Interior Minister Armando Benedetti, who also served as Petro's former campaign chief, for alleged drug trafficking, placing them on specially designated nationals list. Days earlier, Trump accused Petro of being an illegal drug dealer, citing record cocaine production. On Thursday, White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt, by the way, bully for her. She's amazing. She takes no nonsense. She's articulate. She's really, really smart. And that's not an easy job, folks. It's not. So bully for Carolyn. Let's continue. So on Thursday, White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt made clear that Trump has no interest in de-escalation, calling Petro an unhinged leader and stating, "I don't think the president, frankly, is interested in that at this point." Trump himself warned that Colombia is doing very poorly and threatened he better watch it or will take very serious action against him and his country. What he has led his country into is a death trap. When you are, and I'll just go down a rabbit trail here. Sometimes people in Mexico who run for office, and you can go and look it up yourself. This is not fake news. And they say we're going up against the drug dealers, whatever. They're just shot. They're just taken out. In my opinion, what needs to be done, and Trump has already offered the president of Mexico, we'll send the military in. How many people have to die from fentanyl, from the Chinese fentanyl, from cocaine, from heroin, from all the drug use? How many people before we take this seriously? I'll say it again. Trump is the only president who's going after the head of the snakes. Bully for the Donald. Bully for the Donald. How can you argue against that? Of course, the left will and make up all sorts of names and fake news, but you can't argue against it. It needs to be done. Let's continue. Petro, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It's probably Petro, has responded by threatening to sue Trump in U.S. court, writing that he would defend myself judicially with American lawyers and the American justice system against what he calls slanders, adding, "I will always stand against genocides and murders by those in power in the Caribbean." The dispute is deepened over a series of U.S. military strikes on suspected narco vessels in international waters. The Trump administration has conducted 10 strikes over the past 2 months, with at least 43 people killed. The most recent overnight operation killed 6 alleged members of one of the gangs. The U.S. campaign has expanded beyond the Caribbean to the Pacific Ocean, where the DEA estimates the vast majority of cocaine bound for U.S. cities actually passes. On Wednesday, U.S. forces conducted 2 strikes at Pacific waters, the first in that region, killing 5 people total. A broad range of outside legal specialists have said that Trump and Hegseth have been giving illegal orders to the military because it is forbidden under domestic and international law to deliberately target civilians who are not directly participating in hostilities, even if they are suspected criminals. The Trump administration has asserted the attacks are lawful because Trump has determined that drug trafficking by cartels constitutes an armed attack on the United States. Secretary of State Marco Rubio described U.S. operations targeting narco-terrorists and called the cartels well-funded, dangerous, violent organizations that are the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere. He said that the traffickers use Venezuelan territory with the cooperation of Maduro regime, and that vetting of strikes and seizures is based on long-term trafficking. Every one of these strikes involves boats and shipments that were tracked from the very beginning. Secretary of War Hegseth vowed that strikes would continue day after day, calling the targets narco-terrorists, bringing death and destruction to our cities. How can you argue with that? Rubio stressed the United States works with regional partners from Mexico and Colombia to Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Panama, and that operations go through a very rigorous process. Rubio stated that Colombia remains a key U.S. partner in counter-narcotics efforts, noting that the military and their police are still very pro-American. However, he criticized Colombia's current president, calling him a lunatic and not well, and said the leader is deeply unpopular at home. Colombia's Deputy Foreign Minister Mauricio Jaramillo condemned the strikes as disproportionate and outside international law, saying those aboard had no possibility to defend themselves and that the strikes were like applying the death penalty in a territory that is not yours. An exclusive interview with CBS News, Petro himself was a former insurgent, called the missile strikes war crimes and said Colombia receives no warning about them. Pedro pointed out, we don't even know where they're going to happen. Nothing. We don't know if they had or didn't have cocaine. He argued that those killed were not cartel leaders, but workers, saying that killing the business workers is easy, but ineffective. If you want to be effective, you have to capture the bosses of the business, he said. Let's continue. So that's basically it. I'm going to read the last paragraph. The Trump administration is also considering land strikes in Venezuela and trying to use force to remove Maduro, with proponents including Secretary of State Marco Rubio and CIA Director John Ratcliffe. Military officials said announcing the career deployment was one more step in the escalating pressure campaign against the Venezuelan leader. The escalating dispute with Colombia follows a series of prior clashes, including Petro's rejection of U.S. deportation flights and his calls for American troops to defy Trump's orders. So, folks, I'm not making this stuff up. In some ways, I wish I was, but I'm not. And it's really, really problematic, because what we are looking at is illegal drugs coming into the country, and we need to stop it. And I'm going to show you one clip here before I go. Give me a second. Watch this. Watch this. How many people in your family have a testimony like this? Here we go.
Christianity brainwashed me so bad. So bad. It brainwashed me so bad that I quit doing drugs. Yeah. I quit drinking. I quit working in strip clubs. Can you believe it? I even stopped having random hookups. It's crazy, I know. Can you believe that? I started feeling better about myself. I got demons cast out of me. I started healing emotionally, physically, mentally. I stopped being suicidal. I stopped cutting myself. Can you believe it? I started being nicer to people. Yeah, it's crazy. It's great. Complete brain. I stopped fighting people. I stopped fighting people in the streets. Yeah, I found my purpose. I found my calling. I actually have good friends now. What a sham.
I just love that, because obviously she was saved. And there are some of you out there that have family members. There are some of you out there who are really strung out on cocaine, on heroin, on all sorts of crazy stuff. And there is a way out. And she just told you how she got out. When you turn to him, when you turn to Jesus, he will come into your life and he will change it. In the meantime, bully for Donald Trump for going after the head of the snake, because that's what needs to happen. And anyone who can defend that, or defend the idea, well, he's an international war, shouldn't be doing this, blah, 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 blah. Really? Really? If not now, when? If not now, when? So these dictators down there like Maduro and others can jump up and down. I just wonder how much money they get from the cartels. Okay, folks, that's really intense stuff, and I get it. But I'll say it before I go. I'll say one more time. How many of you watching this have not had a family member that's been addicted, that's been in rehab? How many? How many? Bully for McDonald, he's taking the bull by the horns. He's going to cut the heads off a snake. That's it for today. Remember, folks, become a subscriber, become a member. Thanks so much. There's now, I think we got 257,000 subscribers. A lot of you come here every single day. We do a new show every day. Consider becoming a member. For a little less than $10 a month, you get 10% off everything in the store. The monthly news magazine headed up by our intrepid and fearless editor, Sonda Allison. She puts up with me. We've got some great people that write. For instance, Karen Wilkinson, who is the author of Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest, writes an article every month. Vicki Joy Emerson, They Only Come Out at Night. She's the author of that incredible book. She writes. Sonda Allison writes. Mondo Gonzalez writes, and others. Folks, check it out. LAMarzulli.com to sign up for the news magazine. But if you become a member, you get that free every single month. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode, another show. God bless you.
It is a beautiful day up here in the 49th state, so I thought I'd take advantage of this good weather window before the snow comes and get out here and look for some tracks and tree structures. If you're wondering about my shirt already, yep, I'm an L.A. Marzulli guy. So L.A. Marzulli, in case you don't know who he is an established author, commentator, and filmmaker. And we had him on the show about a year ago, and we got a lot of heat for that show. And the reason we got heat is because there's a lot of people in the Bigfoot research community that absolutely come unglued if you come from a biblical perspective, namely the Nephilim connection theory where it relates to Sasquatch, and they just come unglued about that. And we got heat, but they were really saying more about themselves than they were about us. So we appreciated that L.A. Marzulli took the time to come to our small podcast and talk to us about the alien phenomenon, as well as the Nephilim connection theory where it relates to Sasquatch. So we encourage you to go check out his website at lamarzulli.net. He's got a lot of great stuff over there. And yeah, in case you're not familiar with the Nephilim connection theory, look into it.
The late Russ Dizdar and I created the Nephilim Mounds conferences, and we had people like Gary Stearman there, Chief Joseph Rivler, of course, you know, Fritz Zimmerman. I mean, he's the guy that got me on the trail of a Nephilim, which resulted in 8 films, and number 9 is coming out soon. But guess what? Here's the Nephilim Mounds collection. There are hours and hours of presentations. Gary Stearman, Fritz Zimmerman, Chief Joseph Rivler, yours truly, and others weigh in on the Nephilim. And you know what, folks? You can see right here the Great Serpent Mount. Yeah, we believe that's Nephilim architecture, fallen angel technology. So for $60, you get all these DVDs here. It's absolutely incredible. There are 11 discs in this set, plus a bonus DVD, Watcher 6, The Secret Cosmic War. This is when we went to Peru. And with our guide, Brian Forrester, we learned and ventured to what we believe is fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture, and it's pre-flood. Go to lamarzulli.com, lamarzulli.com. What are you waiting for? Avail yourself. There's so much teaching, so much good stuff in this 11-disc set. Plus, you get the bonus DVD. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.